Good morning and welcome to our Friday morning conversation this morning. And I'm delighted to be joined by co-founder of Slainte Sea Moss Sea Care range, Jamie Dent. Jamie, you're welcome.
Oh, good morning. Thank you for having me.
I am just double checking that we're live here, but I'm sure we are. So yes, here we are. We are live and we are all good to go. Perfect. Jamie, welcome. And this morning we're having this conversation about empowering your confidence to unleash your inner beauty, which is a big conversation to be talking about. And I'm delighted to welcome you along here this morning to delve further into this whole conversation around confidence and beauty. I think it's a very important conversation to have and a very interesting one. So I looked at your website and I was looking at your value statement. And in your value statement, you said that beauty is unique and ineffable. Oh, I said that word wrong. It cannot be measured, but it can be experienced. So that reminded me of a book I love, one of John O'Donoghue's book, Divine Beauty. And he talks about, he says, unlike the land, which is fixed in one place, the sea manifests freedom. She is a primal dance, a dance that has always moved to its own magic. So I love that. So in the context then of us looking at beauty as something that ultimately suggests freedom for us to be ourselves with our own beauty, and not something that we probably should be trying to tame, because that'd be trying to make us somebody else. Just to be freedom to be who we are in our own beautiful skins. But sometimes, of course, this requires us to feel confident. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jamie, this morning is, what does confidence mean to you?
So, what confidence means to me is about truly embracing who I am and recognizing my inherited value. It's about understanding that my individuality is something to be cherished and not something to hide. Um, Growing up, I often felt pressure to fit into certain molds that society puts on you. But over time, I've come to realize that real confidence comes from celebrating and accepting who I am. So, societal pressures can make people feel very inadequate and excluded because not everybody's made the same. So this is why I am so passionate about challenging these expectations. I deeply believe that our uniqueness and our diversity makes us special. Instead of striving for something that's unattainable, um, I've just learned to value and appreciate the qualities that make me me.
Yeah, and I mean, that's so wonderful, isn't it? It's like the sea just is itself and nature is just itself. And we could really take a lesson from nature and the elements on that, just being who we are. But when we talk about this conversation and we speak about it out loud, it sounds so awful that we'd actually change ourselves in order to fit in, but we do. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you think, what motivates us to change the way who we are and not celebrate our uniqueness? Where does it all start?
I think it all starts from when we were young, the messaging we receive, whether we receive it from a parent, culturally, like whatever the current standards are that the media is putting out there of what you should be like. That's where it comes from. That's where we start to change ourselves. We start to try to fit in, and sometimes it just is not healthy at all.
Yeah, for sure. And we really do start to develop our value system at such a young age. And again, I think it's all, we have different evolutionary stages as women, as men do as well. We all evolve. Like I often talk about the terrible twos, when we start to realize, oh my goodness, we have actually power in the world. We can start to exert that power, and we can see it panning out differently with different children, and some with their their tantrums. They realize, if I do this, I get this. So it's this developing a power. And I think also then at adolescence is another time when we evolve into a more grown up stage, the pre-teenage stage. And again, it's this, sometimes we can hit these power struggles. Now, obviously, everybody's story will be different. It's not the same for everyone. It's different culturally and all this. But really, like the pre-adolescent stage, when we're again exerting power in the world as we grow up, then again, we could be realizing that we're not actually valuing ourselves. We're valuing maybe, or our values are set, are inherited. So there's this whole generational issue may start to come up for us. And I know we spoke about this beforehand as well, about how that can be like generationally. So can you speak to a little bit about that, the whole value system, and how we can have that process of evolving from the old generational stuff that we take with us?
Oh, definitely. So I feel like there's a lot of where generational pressure comes into is now we are so geographically spread out, right? Where before we kind of were just in one area. So the area you're in, everybody looked like you. They basically had the same values, the same morals. And as we've spread out throughout the world, we're coming, so somebody like me, with a Mexican background, Mexican culture, being placed into someplace that's totally different. There's nobody that's like me, right? There's probably nobody that looks like me, nobody that talks like me, nobody that eats the same food as I do. So then you start changing yourself to fit in to what that standard is wherever you're at. So I think that will put pressure. Well, not that, it does put pressure because you're trying to fit into both worlds, right? So you're trying to fit in at home, but then you're trying to fit in like within society. So right there is just a lot of pressure on trying to be something that you're not and trying to fit that mold that society puts. So I think that with, the generation starting to change and there's more diversity out there, I think there will be like a huge shift in that. And you do see that now, especially with the younger kids. But that generational of trying to hold on to what you have and fit in is something that's really real and it's a struggle.
And is it different for young people these days, or is it the same, but they just have a different set of issues, problems, etc.? What would your opinion around that be?
I think that there's still some challenges for younger people, but now they have a little bit, their challenges are different than it was, say, when I was a child, right? Trying to fit in. They have easy access to like social media. So everything is kind of instant. So they're what they're being fed and what they're looking at is probably, I would feel, is 10 times as bad as what I had it growing up. And I feel that there's a lot of kids feel inadequate with their appearance, with how they represent themselves in the world based off of what social media is giving. But social media, 90% of the time, that's all filters, that's, Photoshop. And is it,
AI?
yeah. And it's like, is it really real? Like what
Yeah.
you're seeing in your messaging, is that really what you're doing? So I think there's a lot of pressure for kids these days based on what we have available at our fingertips. But as
Yeah.
far as accepting others, for the cultural differences, I think that is far, far more accepting than what it was when I was younger.
Okay, interesting. I suppose it's because maybe there is that more movement, isn't there? Maybe I know my own parents wouldn't have moved awfully far from where they were, started off, let's say. And I come from an Irish background, so it's different, of course, the world over, and we will have people from all over the world watching this and listen to the replay as well. And it's great to speak to somebody from a different culture so that we can break down these barriers and begin to understand each other a bit more. Because I think when we realize that really at the end of the day, we are all unique, and I think it's coming back to that. And there is more conversations around the whole inclusion, diversity conversation, but we really need, on an individual level, in my opinion, to accept ourselves first the way we are, before we can even start to look at other people, because we can all have our own unconscious biases that we may not be aware of against a race or against a certain type of person or whatever. So really it is about looking at ourselves, the inner world. And I know you do speak about that as well. It's about it's not just about beauty, it's not just about the external, it's about the internal.
It is. It's really about the what you hold inside your heart, right? Your soul, how you treat people, is huge. I'm really, really big about the ripple effect, right? So if I'm kind to somebody, then that person's going to be kind to the next person, right? So it's kind of just like you have to really be whole and happy, on the inside, because then that just comes out. And it doesn't matter what you may look like or what you may not look like. It's gonna ooze out into the world. Just that brightness and that radiance right there.
Absolutely love it, for sure. So the confidence, like, you're in the beauty industry now, and again, it's about coming back to how we can become more confident in relation to ourselves, but that being the inside job, as you just mentioned there. We really need to do the work on ourselves. And one way you can certainly burst through these challenging expectations that people may have for their own selves is by helping people become more confident. And you do this with helping people with their skincare.
Yes. The skin is the largest organ on your body, right? So I feel that you really need to nourish it because it protects you from so much and it does so much for you. And protecting your skin and nourishing it and making it healthy, what is that saying? That's showing the world that, here I am. I care about who I am. And this is what I want to show, everybody in the world is it's me. So I think that when you feel really, really good and you're glowing and you're radiant, and that's just going to come out, everybody's going to see that. And people are going to gravitate towards you because you are this amazing individual who is so happy with who they are. And you're going to make more people want to be that way, right? So I think like outer appearance doesn't matter. It's like more the inside and how you feel, but that's going to glow and it's going to go through your skin. So why not make sure that you're taking care of the one thing that protects you on a daily basis?
Yeah, I love it. And it's, as you say, how we feel about ourselves and how we present ourselves to the world really can make such a difference to our confidence. So, I suppose one of the reasons why we're having this conversation as well is that I am launching a 4-week online Master Your Confidence course. So I do the mindset piece, and I think, is a lovely part of the conversation to hear how we feel about our own self, including the way we look, is such a huge piece of this confidence conversation, especially for women. Now, I mean, I know it's a conversation for everyone, and your products are unisex; they're for everyone. But it's to me, it's about becoming how we perceive ourselves, and we can use skincare when we put something on our skin. It's how we perceive, we feel when we go through that whole process, and that's why I love having the conversation with yourself, because you have this wonderful way of you come from such a great place of wanting to challenge the old stories, because we all come from our old stories. We talked about it earlier, our value system, our beliefs about how we are, our how we try to fit in rather than just belong. And the whole conversation around belonging, I think, is such an important topic, because these are fundamental needs we all have, to feel like we belong somewhere. And especially for young women, you can have so much power in the world to influence young girls with their skincare, and young boys. And what a wonderful way to do it, with coming from a background of saying, I'm challenging the old norms, and you're really helping people empower them to be positive with their own uniqueness.
Yeah, I feel uniqueness is huge. I was chatting with a friend, and I was like, if you look at your thumbprint, right, your fingerprint, if you were to stamp that, right, or just really examine what it looked like, and you can see like every curve, every wrinkle, like every story that it holds, right? But if you were to put your same thumbprint next to mine, it would be totally different. So we are just like as unique as our thumbprint. So we need to embrace that. And because there's nobody else that's going to have that in the world. Nobody.
Absolutely love it. So how else do you educate people, Jamie?
How to educate people? Well, educate people just on the importance of, one, taking care of your skin in a healthy way. Um, like, don't use chemicals. Know what's going on your body, because that's going to go inside, right? And so over time, those chemicals are going to have an effect on your skin, definitely, but like what's going on the inside of you as well, you know? So I think it's really important that we know what we are putting onto our bodies and making sure that it's the best possible ingredients that's really going to nourish and take care, and not just do something that's a quick fix and superficial. This is going to be over time, right? So you want to make sure that over time your skin is going to protect you. Even as you get older, your skin changes, right? It gets thinner. You bruise easier, and by doing that now with great products that are natural, over time your skin is just going to take care of you even longer, and it's going to make you feel good and look good. So that's one of the things. And then as well as just being you, like, just like, you don't have to cover up who you are. You don't have to mask who you are. Like, your skin is you. There's nothing else like it. So covering it up or feeling ashamed of it, it's that means that you're ashamed of you. So yeah.
And I think that whole conversation around shame as well, I mean, shame as an emotion is certainly
Yes.
one that can be inherited. We can inherit shame from our own generational line of women and men. And it's really when you start doing the inner work, we realize, you know, what's fueling what's motivating us to not want to be ourselves, because we start hiding ourselves in such a young age, the pieces of ourselves that we feel make us not fit in. You know, we call it our shadow self. We got to go, okay, I want to fit in here. So what do I need to do to be here? What part of myself has to change in order for me to feel like I belong here? And I think that's a huge piece around confidence and about being able to be unique. It's about being able to accept our whole self, our skin, every part of ourselves, what we look like, what color our skin is, whatever.
Every part of you. That's like, you know, the great stuff about you. That's the stuff that you're still trying to figure out, right? It's like your little, you know, dirty habits, you know, whether it's like taking off your socks and leaving them in the hallway, right? You have to accept everything about you, because regardless of whether you are married or you're with somebody, you're going to be stuck with you for the rest of your life, no matter what. So you have to be really happy with who you are, confident with who you are, because you're going to be with you forever.
Yeah. And it really is about peeling back the layers to see what stops us being confident. And this is a huge part of what I talk about in my Master Your Confident
Mhm.
course. You know, it is peeling back the layers. We start where we are now, and we're all going to be somewhere different in our journey in relation to confidence. We have the same fundamental needs, as I mentioned earlier, but like we can be, you know, my story and your story, we may both lack confidence in a certain way, but our backstories will be different depending
Yes.
on whatever beliefs we've inherited, whatever beliefs we've formed ourselves. And you know, really, what we don't want to be doing is being motivated from a set of beliefs that in our 50s that formed when we were like as young as maybe 8 or 10 or 12,
Yeah.
and in those evolutionary stages that I mentioned earlier, like the teens, when we start to kind of begin again to have this maybe feeling of, oh, where do I belong now? We're starting to grow out of our young selves and all those beliefs we have, and we take this with us into our pre-adulthood, and then we have a different set of issues, challenges, and etc. And how we deal with those then is the story that we bring into our adult life again. So it's so important for us to peel back those layers and to develop confidence in ourselves and to understand what's motivating us from such a young age. And I think the whole beauty industry is a huge part, especially for women, to be able to really understand. And I love a beauty brand like yourselves that bring in this confidence piece and this speak about values and really live your values, because we can all state we have these values and this mission, but unless people see that we're living it, I think this newer generation as well, the younger generation, can see through companies that don't live their values.
Yes. And it's huge. Like, I feel that, like, when my co-founder James and I started this company, this journey, um, we really wanted people to live healthier, right? We really wanted, like, the skin is your largest organ, like I said before. Take care of it, like, nourish it. And it's not just a superficial, like, the beauty industry, there's everything is very superficial. Like, covering yourself up with makeup. And if people wear makeup, that's fine. I'm not saying anything against it, but it's just like, why do you have to hide who you are for somebody to accept you? So just we just want to make sure everybody is just happy and confident in their own skin, because that's a part of who you are.
And your co-founder James is actually an Irish guy, so we have a lovely combination there. You have a lovely combination in your company.
Yes, we do. And it's great to have, like, his perspective on things, and then mine as well. And this journey, I mean, it's been very difficult just because of the messaging, how you want to get it across, and how you want to make people feel. So to me, it's like the beauty industry, it's such a huge, broad category, right? So you have like cosmetics, you have like skincare, and it's like that it all meshes together. And it's kind of like you're fighting against it, because you're like, skincare is different. Skincare is different. It doesn't fall within the cosmetics, like within like the perfume, and how like the messaging from the time we were little girls is targeted towards us, like, there's something wrong with your hair. You don't smell good. Like, you need to look this way. And I just want to change that. So
I love
here we
that.
are. Yeah. Now it's what we're doing.
And when people say those things to us when we're young, depending on how we, it's all about our perception, isn't it? How we perceive what they're saying to us. And if we're brought up by parents who tell us through their own goodness of their own heart, just to, if someone says that to you, fit in, it's okay. Just, we can be kind of taught to change in order to, to be this person or to be that person, especially in the beauty industry. And it's such a shame, because again, we're hiding bits of our own self, we're masking ourselves. And there is quite a cultural thing of, loads of false tan and false eyelashes and everything false. Again, I'm not condemning anyone for any of this, but again, it's like, it can be so putting on something to hide our uniqueness. And maybe it's what every young girl needs to go through in order to come out the other side. But, I think it's nice to have the conversations where maybe there's another way. We don't have to hide who we are, or do we, for a certain length of time to come out the other end?
And that could possibly be. I mean, I worked in education. I started off as like a elementary school teacher, and I never forget just listening to kids and how honest kids are, right? If you want to know anything and have an honest opinion, ask a kid, because a kid will flat out tell you the truth. They're not going to hide anything back, because they don't know any different, right? They don't know. That's just how they are. But as they do that, we tend to change them. Like, you can't say that. Don't say that. You're going to hurt somebody's feelings. Like, don't act like that, because then people are going to think you're like this. So you start changing their uniqueness, like, and you're kind of teaching them how to lie, right? Because you don't want them to feel like they're not fitting in, or they're left out, or somebody's going to talk about your kid or your nephew or your niece, whoever it is. And I think that's like, it's kind of disheartening that happens, that you're, from a young age, you're just kind of correcting some of the great things that make them who they are, because of the label. Yeah.
And that is so true. That's the crux of it, isn't it? And we do it, well-meaning parents do it. And I always say that, it's we do our best for our kids, and we come from a very good place. But it's this thing, don't stand out. I know my generation, for sure, the last thing we wanted was for any of the neighbours to talk about us. God help us that any neighbour would would know anything about us, or, you know, just conform, just do this, just be like everybody else. And it's like, that didn't come from somebody that was trying to make us different. It was just done from a good heart. But I think those conversations are changing now, because when we do hide parts of ourselves when we're young, we spend, like, I know there's an author called Richard Bly. He says we spend the first half of our year filling up the bag that we carry behind us, the baggage, like all the hiding parts of ourselves. And then we spend the second part of our life unpacking all those pieces of ourselves that we've put into the bag. So it's like this journey of hiding in order to fit in, and then trying to be authentic. Because I think the only way we can be authentic is to bring our whole self to the conversation, our whole self to life. And unfortunately, we can spend a lot of time being in this with this mask on, and whatever mask we're coming from is based on our past stories and that. So I love what you're doing. Jamie, tell us a little bit more about where people can contact you.
So our website, they can go to slaineseamoss.com, and it has a list of, you know, all of our products. Instagram, our Instagram handle is Slainte_Sea Moss. And of course, you can find us in a few great places, iconic Irish places: Foxford Woolen Mill, Sandoon, Kylemore Abbey, Flow Live, and Knock Airport. So that's currently some of the places that we are at. And yeah, we're super excited to be on this journey. We are so thankful for all the support that we've had so far. Like, you know, people like you who stand behind what we are representing. And of course, like, to all of our friends and family, this has been so much fun. This journey's been great. Just trying to change everybody's perception and make them love their skin.
And it's great. Yes, I absolutely do love to, chat with people that have a great value and live by their values, because I do a lot of work with culture. And I think that, excuse me, while some companies can say this is our value and this is our mission, if they're not living it, again, I think people can see through that. And this is again where I think that the new generations of people, they want to be working with companies or with skincare brands. They want to be using something that actually talks their talk and walks their walk, because I think these new generation are wonderful kids. And I'm talking even about millennials down. You know, it's that they know what they want much more than I did, certainly, in a lot of my generation. They know what they want, and they want to be partnered and collaborate with companies that have a good set of values, but live them as well. And that's such an important, it's an important message, I think, to get across, that you're definitely a company that live your values in so many ways, which is great to see. I just want to mention here as well my Master Your Confidence course, which is starting on the 15th of July. So this is all about, again, I love talking about confidence and how I can help people, support people to get away from that hiding part of themselves, living authentically, stepping into a fuller version of themselves. And that really is, again, about pulling back the layers we may have taken on as a child. And as I said earlier, we start with where we are. Everybody will be on a different part of the journey. Some of us have left more confident. It depends on our backstories. But wherever you are, we start with this course with where you are. It's designed that way to help you understand what holds you back as a person, because it's not about, it's the same set of fundamental needs we have, but we all have different stories. So I help you weed through those stories. I help you weed out the excuses you give, and sometimes behind our excuses are our limiting beliefs. So it's really this bit as well about helping you to feel like you belong rather than fitting in. Because even saying the word fitting in, the two words fitting in, it's like we have to mold ourselves and be something different. But what we want is to just feel as though we can rock up and be our unique, authentic self, feeling like we belong, not feeling like a fraud wherever we are. So it's a 4-week deep dive, and it is a very deep dive. It's fully supported in a Facebook group. Should you wish to join the group, you don't have to if you don't want. But some people like the whole community feel of that support. And, you know, I'll be sharing conversations like this as well with wonderful people like Jamie. And also I have an early bird until the 4th, which is I'm actually giving away my a course I did a couple of years ago called The Subtle Art of Storytelling. As an Irish person, I love storytelling. So this is really like it's a great course as well about if you want to become clear about who you are in your business, because I help you craft your business story and then find your ideal clients with that business story. Again, it's about the whole conversation we're having here. It's about understanding our uniqueness, and like when we do that, like Jamie is a complete example. Jamie and James are great examples of how we know what we're doing. We find our ideal clients from telling our unique story. And that's why I like sharing again a conversation like this, because it's definitely for me, it's sharing someone that's living their values so much so. And this is about what confidence is all about. It's about finding your business story and then sharing that with the right people. That's what the free course I'm giving away is when you join when you pick up the early bird. So all of that is, you can find out details about that Master Your Confidence course, 4-week deep dive there on the ticker below. So Jamie, again, thank you so much for being with us. I'll put up your website again, should anyone want to look at the wonderful products yourself and James have. And I know that there's lots more in store for you. You guys are going to rock the world with this this beauty brand, because you're coming from such a wonderful place. Jamie, is there anything you'd like to leave us with, a quote or anything, or a last something that I didn't ask you?
So a quote would be great. One of my favorite quotes is by Joe, and it's, "Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly?" And as you know, Freda was very unique. She didn't let the world tell her she needed to fit into a box, right? She did what she wanted to do, how she wanted to do it. And that quote was after she had to amputate her leg from the knee down. She was kind of like stuck in a bed, kind of depressed, right? Like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't get around. And then she got
Who
back
was
into
this,
her.
Jamie? We lost you temporarily there at the very beginning. Who are you speaking about? I'm sorry.
Oh, Freda Kahlo. So did you hear the quote that I said?
You could say it again just in case anyone missed it.
Yeah, it's, "Feet, what do I need you for when I have wings to fly?"
Love it.
So when she had to amputate her, her leg from the knee down, she was kind of, bedridden. She wasn't feeling so confident about herself. And then she just threw herself back into her artwork, into her poetry, and she had a whole different view of the world. So she was very unique in everything that she did, what she represented. So yeah, that's the quote that I have.
I love it.
Yes.
And that's the whole ethos, isn't it, of what you're trying to share as well. The slainteseamoss.com web link is there as well, if people want to go and check you out, or on Instagram. I know you're very active on Instagram as well. So Jamie, thank you so much. Continued success to you. And yes, let's chat again in another year and see how far you have come, and
Yeah.
the best of luck with it.
Yes, and excited for your course. I think what you're doing is fabulous, and it's going to impact so many people. So thank you for doing the hard work so that the rest of us can be confident.
Thank you, Jamie. Pleasure to have you.
Yes.
Talk
Thank you.
again.
Bye.